Gracie Jones.
And I'm Kira Aston. Here's what's coming up on the programme today. We hear from one of the lead researchers from a study on new brain imaging technology.
We could use these technologies to see, are we seeing any changes on this new technology early on before people are aware of it?
Every company, including Google, would be affected if the AI bubble were to burst. CEO Sundar Pichai has said. The growth of AI becomes more intense, but will it turn out like the normal internet?
I expect AI to be the same. So I think it's both rational and there are elements of irrationality through a moment like this.
The Deaf Olympics in Tokyo is underway, but despite its 101st year running, the elite athletes still don't receive government funding for training, travel or commitments.
My optimistic dream is that there is equity and parity between all three Olympic movements in the country.
New brain imaging technology is being used to study multiple sclerosis, a chronic autoimmune condition which currently has no cure.
Our reporter Rhys Hanson has been looking into the story and he joins us in the studio now. Welcome to the studio, Rhys.
Thanks, guys. So just to explain a little bit, multiple sclerosis, or MS, is a neurological condition. So it can affect your brain, your spinal column, and the nerves that run all throughout your body. And it can cause a lot of different symptoms. It's generally different for everyone, a sort of different mix of symptoms, but it can be things like problems with your coordination, your balance. It can cause pain and tremors and stuff like that. And part of the identification and the treatment for the condition is in scans, such as your MRI scan. And MRIs are great, often they're really helpful, but you do have to lie completely still for it, and they sort of just take like a photograph, a snapshot in time, which isn't obviously great if you're trying to see how someone's brain is going when they're moving around. And doctors also can sometimes find that there won't be a difference between two scans, even if they're like a couple of years apart, but the patient is still getting worse. So that's where this new technology comes in. It's called OPM-MEG, if anyone's sciencey at home and fancies looking that up. And it records electrical signals in the brain in real time, so more like a video than a photograph. And it can also be partially worn as a backpack, meaning that it can be used to look at the brain while the patient is moving around, which is really, really helpful for the doctors to understand if they're having problems of coordination and balance, why that is. Earlier I spoke to someone who really hopes this technology will help with the treatment of MS.
Kate Wynne was diagnosed with MS in 2020 and is the lead volunteer for the MS Society's South West Manchester group. She told me why this research caught her eye.
Like a lot of people with MS, I get tired when I'm stood up or say if I'm walking. So I think it would be interesting to see using this technology how the brain changes in people with MS, because I would imagine that your brain gets fatigued and maybe it doesn't work as well as if you compared it to a person without MS.
Kate received her diagnosis 2 months after qualifying as a vet. She explained how being unable to work was one of the toughest parts of the diagnosis to come to terms with.
When you're of working age and you've not been able to work, you can struggle with feeling like a failure or like a burden at times, especially when you're relying on your family. I had thought that I would go into mixed practice, but then you think that with MS, I couldn't have done on-call, I couldn't have worked nights, I would struggle standing for long periods, my brain didn't work as well as it did before.
Chris Gilmartin is one of the co-authors of the study and describes how the new technology will help change and improve MS treatment.
The first step towards finding new treatments is finding ways of identifying and tracking those changes. So currently how we identify this is in clinic. We ask people, do you feel you're getting worse? And it's always a quite subjective measure. And people are like, I think so. And you're like, after a year or so, you can say, actually, if I think back a couple of years, yes, I am worse than I was then. But then we're already 2 years down the line. So we need something which can really pick up those problems at the early stages.
Chris hopes that this technology should catch signs of the condition getting worse before the patient even knows themselves, massively speeding up treatment. Kate also emphasised, though, that it isn't just technology and medicine that can help you live with the condition.
Maybe if people are diagnosed with the condition, I think finding other people who have the same experience is very helpful, because you can feel very isolated and it's just You just need to know that you're not alone in this, that there are a lot of people, you know, that have the same experiences as you.
Rhys Hansen, Quays News.
Thanks for that, Rhys. Every company would be affected if the AI bubble were to burst, the head of Google has said.
Sundar Pichai said while the growth of artificial intelligence had been extraordinary, there is some irrationality in the current AI development.
With the increase of risk linked to changes in AI, how far is dependency going, and are we now frightened of it? Dan Walters investigates.
Well, here we go again. Artificial intelligence back in the centre of discussion. We've now been warned by Google boss Sundar Pichai that no company is safe if the AI bubble bursts. What does he mean? If the development continues like it is, without adapting, we may be in a whole load of intelligence trouble.
I think we need to be having those conversations. And part of it is how do you develop this technology responsibly and give society time to adapt as we absorb this technology? I think these are all very, very important and fair questions.
The CEO has also said, don't blindly trust what AI tells you. He's also gone on to say that we can look back at the internet right now. There was clearly a lot of excess investment, but none of us would question whether the internet was profound. He then said, I expect AI to be the same. With people getting most of their information from AI sources, it begs the question about how necessary it is, particularly in some things you wouldn't really think about.
So I have an AI fridge. It tells me how much stuff I put in it, and it tells me when it's going out of date. It's good on one hand. On the other hand, it's just a fridge, you know. And this is the kind of thing where you stop and think, do I really need? When I bought it, I was like, I don't really need this.
Experts are warning that the rapid rise of AI, paired with a lack of clear legislation, leaves our society vulnerable to risks we're not yet prepared to handle. And this is the technology lots of companies are investing in to develop their AI systems. And with AI woven into our everyday life now, do we actually understand the risks? And there's many people asking, do we actually know what it's capable of?
I think we need more legislation on decoupling AI from human control or human influence, and say, right, you need to be clear to everybody what parts of these robots are controlled by AI and what parts are controlled by humans.
So is the development of AI something people are frightened of now? Sundar Pichai must keep spending trillions of dollars to win an AI race against his competitors.
I'm frightened of it in the way that, in terms of creative industries.
I don't think that humans know what it's capable of, but I think there's a lot of research that's needed.
I feel like more in the sense of like it's taking jobs rather than it's going to kill everyone or whatever.
A call to keep our AI systems under control may be coming, and experts are warning. The world goes on though, with a greater reliance on technology. Dan Walters, Quays News.
Sunday marked the beginning of Brakes' annual Road Safety Week, where education and awareness is encouraged to prevent road casualties.
Road accidents have been getting higher in the northwest and in Salford. Deaths and serious injuries resulting from road accidents rose by 38.2% between 2023 and 2024. Our reporter Leighton Vermark has more.
Sunday marked the beginning of Road Safety Week, which will continue on until the 22nd of November. The purpose of this week is to raise awareness on road safety and prevent casualties on the road. Following two major incidents in Salford, which left both victims severely injured, it's important that Salford understands this message so that we can prevent more of these happening in the future. On Wednesday, 12th of November, a 26-year-old woman was reportedly hit and left with life-changing injuries at 4:10 a.m. Salford suspect Taylor Smith appeared in Manchester Crown Court on Friday facing an attempted murder charge. On Thursday, November 12th, a 60-year-old man was left with potentially life-threatening injuries after being hit by a Toyota at 7 a.m. Police and paramedics were called to the scene on Cheltenham Crescent, where the victim was rushed to hospital.
The consequences of road accidents can be devastating and last a lifetime. I spoke with Mark Hill about how being involved in a road accident has affected him.
You know, these things kill people. They maim people. They can disable people for the future, as in life-changing illness, injuries. So I had an accident. It's got to be about 30 years ago now, and I was driving a van in Staffordshire on a country road, and an older guy was driving the Jag, and he came across the central white line and hit me, not head on, but not far off head on. And then I was thrown out of the the driver's side window, and ended up hanging outside the window, and a lorry driver stopped, stayed with me till the ambulance came, and then I was took to Princess Royal Hospital in Salford, and had about a 5.5 hour operation on my leg to put a titanium rod down the centre of my femur and then screw it in my thigh and my knee. And yeah, so I was on crutches for about 10 months.
Brake, a road safety charity, campaign for safe roads, preventing death and injury, and provide support for crash victims and their families. In 2024, 3,358 people were killed or seriously injured on the roads in the northwest, and a recent study from Brake found that 63% of drivers don't know what all the safety features do in their car. Salford saw a 38.2% increase in how many people were killed or seriously injured on the roads from 2023 to 2024.
So 5 people are killed on our roads, on UK roads every single day, and a further 80 suffer from serious life-changing injuries every single day, which is a shocking statistic. And behind every single one of those numbers is, a life. Yeah, so the theme this year of Road Safety Week is Safe Vehicles Save Lives. And so one element is asking the government to put the technology in, as we've said. The other element is kind of an awareness raising to everybody who owns a vehicle and drives a vehicle, to make sure that their vehicle is roadworthy every time that you go out and use it, because we want to make sure that every journey is safe and everybody gets home at the end of the night. So that's things like making sure you've got enough fuel for your journey, making sure your lights are working, all of your lights, making sure when was the last time you checked your oil, your water, and your tires, all those kind of things. Just keeping an eye on your car and your vehicle, and making sure that everything's as it should be, because especially as we're getting towards winter and the roads are, they're wet or they're icy or it's cold, we need to make sure that the vehicle's in the best shape it can be. So just those little checkups are really important, especially at this time of year.
If someone you love has been killed or seriously injured in a road crash, Brake are here to help. Either call 0808 800 401 or email help@brake.org.uk.
The Deaf Olympics GB team have arrived in Tokyo to take part in the 101st Games. The team had no choice but to fundraise individually to cover the cost of the event. Lily Mae Cooper is with us now in the studio. Lily, could you just tell us a little bit more about the Deaf Olympics?
Of course I can. So as you said, this is the 101st Deaf Olympics. It started way before World War II, back in 1924, and it's basically a 12-day long event for 81 nations across 21 different sports, and this year it's taking place in Tokyo. Now, Team GB are taking 100 deaf or hard of hearing athletes over there, and Henry Hughes is a swimmer who has gone over to Tokyo this week for his second Deaf Olympics so far, but he knows that it's not a reality for many other deaf athletes.
We don't even have the Union Jack flag because it's too expensive to print it out for every athlete. So that's just some of the things, we had to compromise on, and that's due to the lack of funding from the government. Deafness is the only disability they do not fund at elite level. And it's very important to distinguish grassroots and elite level here. The government will come back and tell you they do fund deaf athletes, but it's actually funding deaf people on grassroots level to get into sport. It's not necessarily elite sport. Deaf people were the ones that fought for disability rights, the ones that fought for people with disabilities in elite sport. We were the first ones to do it, and then we got sidelined by the Paralympics, which should not be the case.
Now, Henry is not just talking about going to Tokyo here. He's talking about training, travel expenses, diet, and the general lifestyle of being an elite athlete. Now, this is obviously not funded by the government in any way. So Henry is also eager to get more funding to increase talent pathway programs, which are basically things for younger upcoming athletes who are trying to get into the elite world, and it supports them on their journey.
So how has the team managed to get the funding to travel to Tokyo?
Now, this is quite tricky. So a lot of them, if not all of them, have to do their own fundraising. So this is through GoFundMes, events that they set up themselves. However, some of the donations can come from the community. So a lot of people in the deaf community do donate when they see it on social media and stuff like that. But because it's not very well known in other communities and elsewhere, this is very rare basically. It doesn't happen a lot. However, the Manchester Deaf Centre do contribute quite a lot. They put on events and family fun days where young deaf athletes can come along and meet their elite role models, you could say, for tips and advice, and they can donate as well. And in the last few minutes, I actually got a statement from Manchester Deaf Centre who said that it's shocking and unfair that they have to fundraise just to take part in the Deaf Olympics. They said every deaf athlete should be able to compete without having to worry about money. And if you put this into comparison with the Olympics and Paralympics, for the 2028 cycle, they're getting £330 million of government funding. So Henry is quite eager to close this gap and also improve the lack of deaf role models.
There are 12 million people in the UK that are deaf or hard of hearing, and that number can be higher with other different hearing impairments. That a lot of people in your own population that don't have the role model and don't have the figures in their lives to aspire to be. That's why deaf people on nearly every metric suffers the worst quality of life. A letter went out from that committee to the top 5 sport broadcasters across the country, so BBC, ITV, Sky, Channel 4 and Channel 5, asking them 3 questions essentially.
So the 3 questions that Henry was talking about there are: why didn't they bid for the Deaf Olympics? What are they going to do about this Deaf Olympics? And what they're going to do moving forward in regards to all Deaf Olympics in the future.
So what outcome does Henry and the rest of the team want then when sending this letter?
Well, currently at the moment it's only streamed on YouTube, so one of their main focuses is getting it on more platforms online so more people can see it. He hopes that if more people see it, it will improve the perceptions and stereotypes around the community, and therefore it will increase the following, and then hopefully more sponsorships will come from that as well, and that will obviously reduce any financial pressures that the athletes might be feeling. So it's all basically a really positive domino effect. Henry and his partner Nathan Young have been campaigning particularly to allow athletes to focus on the sport more than the fees involved. They've gone to every effort to change this issue, including speaking to MPs as well.
So if you actually talk to MPs, as I've done many times, individually, they all think this is a national embarrassment that they do not fund the Deaf Olympic team. And it's people's fears that their funding is going to be cut if there's funding given to a Deaf Olympic movement that would increase exponentially to the years to come.
And this competition can be followed on YouTube live stream up until the last day, which is on the 26th of November.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Lily. So next year will mark 100 years since Salford gained its city status. But how much has Salford changed since then, and what do locals think of the city today? James Benson reports.
Salford is preparing to mark 100 years since it became a city. The official celebrations begin next April, but already community groups and organisations are starting to plan how they'll honour the milestone. Built on industry, mills and the docks, Salford grew rapidly throughout the early 20th century. It was officially granted city status in 1926. A century later, the skyline has changed dramatically, and some long-term residents say life here has changed drastically. He remembered a time when the community felt closer and says today's Salford doesn't feel the same as the one he grew up in.
Everyone looks after each other. You can go into people's houses and all that, and it was, you know, people borrowed sugar or milk, and it was good. Not like today. So there was good days now, and like today, it's not the same. Nowhere near the same. I mean, there's that many people, and they don't work as a team like they used to do, and with all different things at the moment, it's getting worse, and you're getting worried to go out at night time.
Emma moved to Salford 5 years ago and says she's seen the community grow stronger and people continuing to look after one another.
I've seen improvement in the community, and the drug rate is going down, like spice is disappearing. So it has improved the community, and I feel like people are getting more together and they all care about each other in Salford.
A programme of Salford 100 events is now being developed, including history workshops, community projects, art performances and local celebrations. Organisers say they want every neighbourhood to take part. Residents can find details, submit ideas or contact organisers through the Salford 100 webpage, with more events expected to be added in the run-up to April. As Salford approaches its century as a city, its past, present and future are all being brought together by the people who call it home. This is James Benson, Salford News.
Reselling tickets above face value are going to be banned by the government. Ministers will announce the plan to tackle touts and resale sites which often offer music, theatre, comedy and sports tickets above face value.
Oh, when you see everything in red. Don't weigh me
Well, our reporter Lizzie Hill is here to tell us more. Lizzie.
Hi, so that was Sam Fender, Dua Lipa and Coldplay, who have all urged Sir Keir Starmer in the last week to protect fans from exploitation. The Department for Culture, Media and Sport suggested the move would end the business model of industrial-scale ticket touting and would make resale tickets £37 cheaper on average, saving fans collectively £112 million per year. The government has decided to set the limit at face value whilst also promising to take measures to cap extra fees to prevent the price limit being undermined.
So when will these rules come into place then, and what has the reaction been to this?
So it's unsure as of right now when this will go ahead, as the plans still have to go through the House of Commons. But as for the reaction, Sky News spoke to a spokesperson for Viagogo, which is one of the main secondary ticket sites, and they said, "We acknowledge the government's announcement today, which is part of a long multi-year process and not a final outcome." Viagogo argues the correct solution is open distribution, which means connecting primary platforms such as Ticketmaster with resale platforms such as Viagogo to verify tickets. However, Richard Davies, the founder of Twickets, described the proposals as a landmark moment for consumer protection in live entertainment, adding the company fully supports the government's plans.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Lizzie. So November is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's a time that shines a light on the mental health issues men may face, encouraging them to break the stigma. Our reporter Mohammed East sits down with the University of Salford's Student Support Progression Advisor Matt Mullins to discuss the importance of men's mental health.
Men's mental health in particular, I don't think there's necessarily that much difference between what men and women would experience in terms of mental health. But I think what is different is that men often are less likely to talk about their problems. Or if they do talk about them, it's more often that it becomes quite a big issue before they begin talking about it. I think with men's mental health, there is a stigma about kind of appearing maybe kind of weak, or, you know, sort of feeling like you have to sort of be strong and kind of bottle it up, which I think is obviously a huge issue, you know. So yeah.
And could you tell me what type of mental health they are? Because there's several factors of mental health.
Yeah, so there's, I mean, in a way, everyone is kind of unique. Everyone's got their own things going on. So whilst, you know, depression and anxiety might be quite common, the way that that manifests in someone's life is going to be very different depending on who they are as a person, their childhood, their situation that they're living in at the moment, their support network, and all of those things can combine in completely unique, different ways and sort of mean that people find themselves in like their own unique situation, but they also deal with it in their own unique way as well. And something that helps one person won't necessarily help another person.
Some very important stuff there. Thank you, Matt and Mo. So that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you follow @Quays News on social media for the latest updates.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.